and welcome back to Mr. English Channel. I'm Emily, and as always, I'm super excited to be here with you all today.
Hi, Emily, and hello to our amazing listeners. I'm Paul, and I'm ready for another fun and helpful English learning session.
Absolutely, Paul. Today, we're diving into a fantastic technique that can really boost your English speaking skills. It's called shadowing.
Shadowing? That sounds intriguing, Emily. Can you tell our listeners a bit about what it is?
Sure thing, Paul. Shadowing is basically listening to a piece of English audio and repeating it out loud at the same time, as closely as possible to the original speaker. Think of it like your voice is the shadow of the audio.
Ah, I see. So we listen, and then we try to say exactly what we hear, at the same pace and with the same intonation.
Exactly. It's like being a parrot, but with a purpose. It's not just about repeating words. It's about getting a feel for the rhythm, the pronunciation, and the flow of natural English.
That makes sense. It sounds like a really active way to learn. Before we get into the details, Emily, should we remind our listeners to do the usual?
Oh, you're absolutely right, Paul. Before we jump in, if you're enjoying our podcast and finding it helpful, please take a moment to hit that subscribe button. It really helps us reach more learners like you.
And don't forget to give us a thumbs up or a like on this episode if you find it useful. Your support means the world to us.
Yes, please do. And if you have any questions or thoughts about shadowing or any other English learning topics, feel free to leave a comment down below. We love reading your feedback.
All right, Emily. So let's get back to shadowing. Why is this technique so effective for English learners?
Well, Paul, shadowing works on several different levels. Firstly, it really helps with pronunciation. By trying to match the speaker's sounds, you become more aware of how English words are actually pronounced, which can be quite different from how they look written down.
That's so true. Sometimes the spelling of English words can be quite tricky.
Exactly. Shadowing helps you bypass that and focus on the sounds. Secondly, it improves your listening comprehension. You have to really pay attention to the audio to be able to repeat it accurately.
So it's like a workout for your ears and your mouth at the same time.
Precisely. And thirdly, shadowing helps you get a better feel for the natural rhythm and intonation of English. Native speakers don't speak in a flat, monotone way. They use changes in pitch and stress to convey meaning and emotion. Shadowing helps you internalize these patterns.
That's a great point, Emily. Intonation can sometimes be difficult for learners to grasp just from reading textbooks.
Absolutely. And finally, shadowing can also help to improve your fluency. By practicing speaking along with a native speaker, you become more comfortable forming English sentences and speaking more smoothly.
Wow, it sounds like shadowing has a lot of benefits. So how can our listeners actually start using this technique? What are the first steps?
The first step is to find some good audio material to shadow. It's best to start with something that is at your level, or maybe just slightly above. If it's too difficult, it can become frustrating.
What kind of audio material would you recommend, Emily?
There are lots of options. Short podcasts designed for English learners are great because the speakers usually speak clearly and at a slightly slower pace. You can also use short clips from English TV shows or movies, as long as the speakers have clear pronunciation. Even audiobooks can work, especially if you have the transcript to follow along with.
Having the transcript sounds really helpful, especially when you're just starting out.
It is. When you have the transcript, you can read along while you listen and shadow. This helps you connect the sounds with the written words and understand any parts you might have missed.
So step 1. Find appropriate audio material, maybe with a transcript. What's step 2?
Step 2 is to listen to a short section of the audio without trying to shadow it first. Just listen to get a general understanding of what's being said.
Okay, so just get familiar with the content first. That makes sense.
Exactly. Then, for step 3, you start shadowing. Play the audio again, a short sentence or 2 at a time, and try to repeat exactly what you hear at the same time as the speaker. Don't worry if you don't get it perfect at first. Just focus on matching the rhythm and the sounds as best you can.
So we're trying to be like a shadow, following closely behind the original voice.
Yes, that's a great way to think about it. And step 4 is to repeat this process multiple times. Go back to the same short section of audio and shadow it again and again. Each time, you'll likely notice new details in the pronunciation and intonation.
Repetition is key, as with many things in language learning.
Absolutely. And then step 5 is to gradually increase the length of the audio you're shadowing. Once you feel comfortable with shorter sentences, you can try shadowing longer phrases and eventually whole paragraphs.
That sounds like a good way to build up your confidence and skill.
It is, and step 6 is to record yourself shadowing and compare it to the original audio. This can be really eye-opening. You might notice differences in your pronunciation or intonation that you weren't aware of before.
Oh, that's a brave step. It can be a bit intimidating to hear your own voice.
It can be, but it's also incredibly helpful. It allows you to identify areas where you need to improve. You don't have to share these recordings with anyone. They're just for your own learning.
That's a good point. It's a private way to get feedback on your speaking.
Exactly. And the final step, step 7, is to be patient and persistent. Shadowing takes practice, and you won't become a native speaker overnight. But with regular practice, you will definitely see improvement in your pronunciation, listening skills, and fluency.
So, to recap, the steps are: find audio, listen first, shadow short sections, repeat, increase the length, record yourself, and be patient. That's a great set of guidelines, Emily.
I hope our listeners find them helpful. Now, Paul, do you have any tips for making the most out of a shadowing session?
Yes, I do. One tip is to really focus on the sounds. Pay attention to how the speaker moves their mouth and tongue, even if you can't see them. Try to imitate those movements as best you can.
That's a great tip, Paul. It's about getting a physical feel for the language.
Exactly. Another tip is not to worry too much about understanding every single word when you're first starting. The focus at this stage is more on the sounds and the rhythm. You can always go back and look up unfamiliar words later.
That's important. Sometimes learners get stuck on one word and it disrupts their flow. It's better to keep going and then revisit later.
And a third tip is to try different types of audio material. Experiment with podcasts, news reports, interviews, and even songs. Each type of audio can expose you to different vocabulary and speaking styles.
That's a fantastic idea, Paul. Variety is the spice of life, and it can also make your shadowing practice more interesting.
Absolutely. And my final tip is to make it a regular habit. Even short, consistent shadowing sessions are more effective than long, infrequent ones. try to incorporate it into your daily or weekly study routine.
Consistency is so important in language learning. Even 10 to 15 minutes of focused shadowing a few times a week can make a big difference over time.
So, Emily, what are some common mistakes that learners might make when they're trying to shadow, and how can they avoid them?
That's a great question, Paul. One common mistake is trying to shadow material that is too difficult. As we mentioned earlier, it's best to start with something at your level. If you're constantly getting lost or can't keep up, it can be discouraging.
Definitely. It's better to feel successful and build confidence with easier material first.
Another mistake is focusing too much on individual words and not enough on the overall flow and intonation. Remember, it's not just about saying the right words. It's about saying them in a natural-sounding way.
So, try to mimic the melody of the speech, not just the notes.
Exactly. And a third mistake is not being active enough. Shadowing isn't just passively listening and repeating. You need to actively try to match the speaker's pronunciation, rhythm, and intonation. It requires focus and effort.
It's like a mental and oral workout.
It is. And finally, some learners might get discouraged if they don't sound exactly like a native speaker right away. It's important to remember that improvement takes time and practice. Don't give up.
That's such an important message, Emily. Be patient with yourself and celebrate your progress, no matter how small it seems.
Absolutely, Paul. Every little bit of practice helps. And remember, the goal of shadowing is to improve your English speaking skills, not to become a perfect imitation of the speaker.
So, Emily, can you give our listeners a quick example of what shadowing might sound like? Maybe you can say a short sentence, and I can try to shadow you.
Sure thing, Paul. Let's try this sentence. The quick brown fox jumps over the lazy dog.
Okay, here I go. The quick brown fox jumps over the lazy dog.
That was great, Paul. You matched my rhythm and pronunciation very well. See, listeners, it's about trying your best to follow along.
Thanks, Emily. It definitely feels like you're more engaged with the language when you're actively trying to repeat it.
It really does. It helps to build that muscle memory for speaking English.
So, Emily, for our listeners who are just starting out with shadowing, what kind of resources would you recommend they look for?
For beginners, I would definitely suggest podcasts that are specifically designed for English learners. These often have clear pronunciation and speak at a slightly slower pace. Some examples you might look for are podcasts for ESL, English as a Second Language learners.
That's a great starting point. And what about more intermediate learners? What kind of materials could they use?
Intermediate learners could start using slightly more challenging material, like short news clips or interviews. They could also try shadowing parts of English TV shows or movies that have relatively clear dialogue.
And for more advanced learners, what's the next level of shadowing?
Advanced learners can really challenge themselves with more complex audio, like academic lectures, debates, or even more nuanced and fast-paced conversations in movies or series. The key at this stage is to focus on the subtle aspects of pronunciation, intonation, and even slang or idiomatic expressions.
That sounds like a real workout for the ears and the mouth.
It is, but it's also a fantastic way to really refine your English speaking skills and sound more natural.
So, Emily, to wrap things up, what's the one key takeaway you'd like our listeners to remember about the shadowing technique?
A key takeaway is that shadowing is an active and effective way to improve your pronunciation, listening comprehension, and fluency. It takes practice and patience, but the benefits are definitely worth the effort. So don't be afraid to give it a try and repeat like a native.
That's excellent advice, Emily. Thank you for sharing all these great tips on shadowing with us today. I'm definitely going to try incorporating this more into my own language learning.
You're very welcome, Paul. And to all our listeners, we really encourage you to try the shadowing technique. Remember to start with material that's at your level. Be patient with yourself and practice regularly. You'll be amazed at the progress you can make.
And that brings us to the end of another episode of Mr. English Channel. Emily, it's always a pleasure chatting with you.
The pleasure is all mine, Paul. And thank you to all our wonderful listeners for tuning in. We hope you found this episode helpful.
Before we go, Emily, should we give our listeners one last reminder?
Absolutely, Paul. If you enjoyed this episode and found it useful, please don't forget to subscribe to Mr. English Channel so you don't miss any of our future lessons and tips.
And please do share this episode with any friends or family who are also learning English. The more, the merrier.
Yes, please do share. And we'd love to hear from you. Leave us a comment below and let us know if you've tried shadowing before, or if you have any questions about it. We always enjoy reading your feedback.
Thanks again for listening, everyone. Keep practicing, and we'll catch you in the next episode.
Bye for now.